ready for another lesson?
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Back Row Banter, your favorite casual movie talk podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Adam Schwartz, and on today's episode, in the news, we have True Detective on the return. It's coming back, ladies and gentlemen.
What?
Season 4. Yeah, we'll get into that in the news. Trailer talk we sort of have this week. There's a Batman the deleted scene about the Joker, so we'll get to that, talk a little bit about it. New streaming list, of course, what we're watching as well, and then our main review for the episode, X. That's it, just X.
Just X.
But before we get to any of that, I'm joined today, of course, by Negotiator Nathaniel Gingrich.
What up, everybody? I am Negotiator Nathaniel.
A menace on Facebook Marketplace.
Exactly. Yeah. I always, I'm out there. I'm trying to work things in my direction. Obviously, I use my gift of gab as seen here on the podcast, and
Yes.
I originally saw that as my name this week. I was thinking about, like, can you imagine a more stressful job than like the negotiator for like the hostage
like an FBI
situations or something like that?
Yeah.
Whew. Like, that's got to be a calling, right?
Yeah, that's got to be very stressful. You also have to have, I would say, a pretty sound mental, because say something goes the other way,
or do you
like
just
that's kind of on your shoulders a little bit. You have to be like very on top of your shit mentally.
Or do you just recruit the best salesman at like every like store that you can find?
Maybe. I mean, I is it too far off?
Who knows? I don't know.
I'm sure there's some overlap in the skills and the requirements of each position.
Listeners, if you're a negotiator, please write in. Let us know.
Let us know. Also joining me today, it's Terrorific Tyler Vidalis.
Hey, what's going on?
You're pretty terrorific.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I often
don't really know if that's a compliment or not, but
I don't know if that's the first time I've heard that.
Terrorific?
Yeah.
Well, there's a first time for everything.
That would be your YouTube channel when you start doing horror.
Ty?
Yeah, when you start doing horror movie breakdowns. Oh, I think I lost everyone. Sorry, folks. Early station identification here for everyone. You're listening to KYOT, the Coyote Smooth Jazz.
And
so we're back.
And one of the things that I was like, oh yeah, I could totally come up with a name for your YouTube channel. We'll call it like brother-in-law builds or something like that.
I like it.
Sorry there, folks. I don't know if you guys heard, but I did lose the Discord there for a little bit. So paused for station identification, and then Tyler was coming back with his brother-in-law builds, but I'm guessing there was a start to that story as well.
There was, but it was also a really good coincidental fill. So,
well, there we go, folks.
And rounding out the squadron, as usual, it's Big Gator Blake.
Hey, what up?
How you doing, man?
Chugging along, man. This is one of those weeks in life that just completely sucked. But
just knocks you on the ground and keeps kicking you.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. I got a flat tire on Sunday.
Oh.
Yeah, so that sucked leaving the gym. On Monday, I caught a leak in my ceiling from the people above me.
Oh, wow.
Man.
What?
Yeah, so it wasn't really bad, and obviously I don't have to pay for it. But still, that just fucking sucks, dude.
No, for sure.
I mean? It wasn't bad at all, but just enough that I can see a mark, and it's just frustrating. So I have to like talk to some people.
Especially when you just moved in.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I would have rather this happened like 2 months ago when I had the place, but I wasn't.
At least,
sure.
Yeah. At least let the honeymoon phase of you buying the place and moving in, like at least let you move in fully. You don't even have furniture there, and you already found a problem. That must suck, man.
Right. So it's all good though. The people above us, they'll take care of it. That's what they have insurance for and all that type of stuff.
Good.
So,
Good.
and it's not bad in the grand scheme of things. But yeah. So my week was just dog shit, dude.
Yeah.
those
are definitely annoying things.
Work killed me. So
Yeah, those are annoying things to deal with
yeah,
for sure.
aiming for a better one next week, right? That's what they say.
It's all we can do, man. All right, well, let's get on into the news here, guys. As I mentioned at the top of the show, True Detective Season 4 is allegedly in the works at HBO with Barry Jenkins attached.
Interesting.
Yeah, I guess, yeah, attached to executive produce is what it's at right now with Isa Lopez of Tigers Are Not Afraid and Secondary Effects onto penned the script.
Interesting.
Yes.
Well, that sort of implies that they're not working with Nick Pizzolatto anymore, who was the kind
Correct.
of original creator, which I'm not sure is a bad thing. I think he'd kind of hit his run with that stuff. So, yeah, I think it's a good enough IP that, I hope they bring it. I hope, this next season is awesome. As we've kind of talked about a lot before, I love the first season of True Detective. I think it's one of the best things, one of the most enjoyable things that I've watched in a long, long time. So
yeah, agreed. Pizzolatto will probably be on as executive producer, is what the story is saying. But he's kind of, the HBO and him have kind of parted ways on his creative work in that sense. On top of that, McConaughey and
Woody Harrelson.
Woody Harrelson, thank you. Woody Harrelson, they are going to be back on as executive producers most likely. Now, there's nothing been officially announced by HBO, but things are in motion behind the scenes.
Barry Jenkins did Moonlight, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes,
correct. Yeah,
of course, yes, and which is very well directed. Probably one of the best directed movies, in the recent years. Is and actually, I was gonna say, as we kind of talked about it, I don't know if we've talked about that movie much. I think I brought it up one time on what we're watching as I watched it for one of my film classes. But that's one of the best movies of the past few years for sure. It beat out my beloved La La Land for Best Picture. So,
well, without some with some controversy too.
With some controversy,
yeah.
Yeah, it allegedly beat out.
Yeah,
La La Land. Allegedly. But yeah, I mean, that's exciting. Nathaniel, you've seen all 3 seasons?
Yes. Yeah. I have.
Okay. I've only seen the first, and I started the second, but never went back. I think I might at some point.
Very different feel.
Yeah, that's what I keep being told by you and others. But that first season, man, they can match anything like that.
Yeah, it was incredible.
I'm on board.
I really like the 3rd season too. I think a lot of other folks didn't enjoy it as much.
Mahershala Ali, right?
Yeah, Mahershala Ali is great. Stephen Dorff, who may be showing up in a movie we do soon as well, is absolutely incredible in that season. I think he got snubbed so hard for an acting award or anything that year. And some of the episodes are directed by Jeremy Saulnier, who did Green Room.
Yes.
Okay.
As well. So yeah, really, really different season, but I enjoyed that one as well too. And yeah, I'll be interested and definitely watching this when it comes back.
For sure. Me as well. I'll also be interested in the Arkham series that's in development at HBO, following up the Batman. A little bit of an anthology series in some respects. We're not exactly sure what it's going to be covering, what characters it's going to be covering, but we do know it's going to be covering Arkham Island, and is a bit of a precursor / post-cursor for the Batman. Okay. Matt Reeves has released a deleted scene from the Batman, which includes a full interaction between Arbats and Barry Keoghan's. Is it Keoghan, right?
Yeah, I think it's a weird Irish spelling of it, and it's pronounced Cohen or
I gotcha, Cohen.
Yeah,
that makes sense. Yeah, I can see that. Cohen, Barry Keoghan's Joker. They talk in Arkham Asylum for it's about a 5-minute scene. I will link it below, of course. You guys all watch this?
We did.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thoughts? Do you? I'm glad this was taken out. Personally, I would have been a little upset if this was included.
I think we agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it's a poorly written scene. I don't think it's a poorly acted scene. I find it a little bit annoying of the way that they kind of shoot the Joker for a while, or the proto Joker, whatever they're calling him at this point. I think the makeup's really, really good, but it reveals too much. It reveals too much of the storyline and the kind of that emotional moment, which I don't know. Do we need to do spoilers here for this bit?
Nah, this is It's
been
out
2
there for
weeks.
everybody
I
to
think
see.
most people listening to the show have probably seen the
They'll
Batman.
probably watch this before they listen to this.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
anyways, I feel like it reveals a little bit too much of that emotional beat that's later in the movie in which Batman realizes how close he kind of is to the criminal element at the end of the day, or how similar they can be seen.
Agreed.
And I see why they took that out. But overall, I thought for me, it kind of reassured me of Reeves's kind of direction for his Joker.
Agreed. Yeah. I still don't know how much I like Barry Cohen here, but I'm open to it. I'm more open to it than I was with his deleted scene. I guess spoilers once again, or sorry, not deleted scene. Like the end scene of the Batman. I'm a little more open to it, but I'm still not in love based on this scene.
I think that's fair. And I think there's a certain element too that whenever you put that style of makeup on someone, I think it kind of naturally lisps their voice and their kind of inflection a little bit. So a lot of times it's kind of like, all right, well, is this like shades of Heath Ledger's Joker or something like that, or some? I'm starting to wonder if maybe it's just that prosthetic that kind of sometimes causes that kind of vocal intonation or something like that.
Potentially,
that's a good point.
Potentially.
But yeah, I thought I enjoyed it overall. I'd be interested to see what Reeves does with that. I could kind of like we've talked about a little bit before. I hope they kind of keep him in the background and almost keep him in Arkham for a movie or two, and then they kind of bring him out, or Batman has to go to Arkham and gets caught in there or something like that.
Well, I'm just interested if they're gonna flesh out his Joker in the Arkham series. For then Joker Batman movie as a follow-up to that.
I'm sure Warner Brothers will be monitoring this with laser-like precision on what people's reactions are, what their kind of feelings are, and everything moving forward.
That's very fair. I think I could see that happening as well. They definitely don't want this, probably their most successful DC movie in a long, long time, getting spoiled in any way. Yeah. Ty, Blake, any big reactions from you guys?
Yeah, I'm along the same lines. I'm glad this wasn't in the movie. I think it would have revealed a little bit too much. And I couldn't tell if I was really into how they were, kind of like Nathaniel pointed out. He was like, he was pretty much out of focus the whole time until the end, and then they kind of give it like it's his big reveal. And I don't overly care that you revealed it now. I wish you kind of would have waited a little bit. I totally would have been okay, and I think this would have done the same thing if you would have just kept him out of focus the whole time. Maybe give him a little glimpse of like just the eyes, but don't put in the mouth or anything like that. I get real 90s Leprechaun feel, so we'll see how that plays out. Okay. But other than that, I'm okay with this.
A reference I do know.
Actually,
Oh, really? You've seen those movies?
I've seen I put on the first one in like October last year when I had like a bunch of people over. We were just looking for something to put on, and I was like, sure.
That's surprising. Jennifer Aniston's in that as well.
Yeah, I know. When I saw her come up in that movie, I was like, what the hell?
Warwick Davis for Mad Hatter in the next Batman movie. There we go.
I'll kind of double down on what everyone's saying. I think most people would be happy that that's not in the film, right?
I think so.
It does indulge a little bit too much information. And then also, I think it was part of the reason why I really enjoyed that film is just to kind of have a Batman film that doesn't really focus on the Joker, or even
100%.
though this wouldn't put any emphasis on him, but just even having that scene with him in there does kind of change the dynamic of the movie, in my opinion. So I think there was enough Joker in it for the final, whatever it was, minute and 30 seconds, and you don't really get any dialogue. I think that was the perfect way to do it. I didn't really care to see him in the film. So,
yeah, and I know Matt Reeves has kind of referred to this as like his Hannibal Lecter moment, where the Batman goes in and talks to Joker, and you have the Silence of the Lambs bit where Jodie Foster's character goes and speaks to Anthony Hopkins' Hannibal Lecter. And like if you compare those scenes side by side, part of the reason that one works is he is immediately in focus as soon as she kind of rounds the corner there, and he's just standing there waiting for her basically, and then he's just a guy. That's kind of also what makes that scene work in some ways, I think. So to Tyler's point, I think if they had either kept him out of focus, I think it's almost too long of a scene to keep him out of focus for that long. It's too long of a conversation. But yeah, it could have gone a couple different ways. But yeah, I'm not saying it's a bad scene at all by any means, but I do understand why it was cut.
Agreed. Yeah, I'm glad it was cut, and I think that's a smart choice. Especially, who knows where they were kind of intending
Planning
to put
for
movie.
it. Yeah.
Because we talked a lot about how there's a very long portion that drags, and if this was included in that, it would have been hit or miss on whether I would be interested to see how that fits into wherever they were thinking about putting it, because maybe this is a scene that kind of, you build that tension a little bit back up.
Yeah, I'm with you.
It could help that portion, but I could also see it being, if I'm very down on this movie and then they just tease me with a conversation like this, I don't know how much it would have helped, but yeah, it's cool to see. I'm glad he kind of revealed it now instead of put it in the movie, but I'm just anticipating a first look at the Arkham series. I'm very excited for what that's going to be. Yeah. Well, we can then move on into Adam Schwartz's completely subjective news streaming list for the week of March 20th through the 26th. For anybody who does not know, there's a lot of things that come to these streaming services every week, and this is my curated, hand-selected list of the things that might be worth checking out. To Netflix, we're getting Bridgerton Season 2, a show I've not seen, but I've heard a lot of good things about from a lot of people. It's got, I think, a pretty big fan base, to be honest, on Netflix. I think it's one of their more successful shows. So Season 2 is here, if you're interested. Anybody here seen that?
Nope.
Bridgerton?
Not familiar with it.
Yeah, I don't think Nathaniel's ever brought it up on what we're watching, so I don't know if he has either. Netflix is also getting certified Back Row Banter A+, Blade Runner 2049. We have not reviewed it, of course, but we talked about it quite a bit.
Have you seen that one?
Oh yeah, love that one.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely one of Denny V's best. I don't know. It might be. I might. It's up there.
I got something on what we're watching about that. So.
Oh, okay. All right.
We'll
Bit of sizzle. Stay tuned.
Yeah.
And then the last thing
Blade
coming
Runner
to Netflix.
2049, awesome movie though.
Yeah, it is great. If you haven't seen it, it's definitely worth checking out. And then rounding out Netflix's list is King of Thieves, which I have not seen, but I've heard is good. Amazon Prime and Hulu aren't getting anything. HBO Max is getting King Richard. That's coming back. So if you haven't seen that, you can still prep for the Oscars by checking it out there. And then they're getting, I think it's, I have to see what seasons, but they're getting Degrassi, The Next Generation. Because if you guys remember, HBO bought the rights to Degrassi shortly after they debuted Euphoria season 1 and 2.
I do remember that. Yeah, that was so weird.
Yeah, they are getting. It just says Degrassi: The Next Generation. I'm assuming that's probably the complete series, but I am not sure. And then Disney Plus, Olivia Rodrigo, Driving Home to You premiere. This is a Disney Plus original. Let me Google this really quick because I didn't have a chance to before the show. I don't know if it's like a documentary thing or if it's like a
live concert or something.
Concert thing. Yeah. Let me see.
She's a singer, I believe.
Yeah, she's a singer.
I've never felt older.
I hear you, because I was like, I know who that is, but I don't really know who that is. You know what I mean? And I hate being that guy.
She did that one.
Is this just a music video? I'm so confused.
Yeah.
Well, listeners,
it looks like some kind of music video thing, but if you're a fan of Olivia Rodrigo, which I like her album, honestly. It's pretty good. Reminds me of like an updated Taylor Swift, which I know is something a lot of people say, like about a new Taylor Swift kind of sound. But yeah, that's it for the what we're watching news streaming list. Now we can get into what we're watching. I'm gonna, I'm curious of what Nathaniel watched this week.
What'd you say? Are you curious what I watched this week? We're right into what I watched. Yes. Yeah. Well, this week I finished Drive to Survive.
Thank God.
Yes. So
did you restart it as well?
No, but I finished it just in time for the start of the F1 race season. Obviously,
the Bahrain Grand Prix.
The Bahrain Grand Prix was back, and it was awesome, man. Like, Drive to Survive is so good, but kind of like as we've talked about recently too. I do feel a little bit like that storyline thing that we've kind of discussed a little bit, where the first season or two maybe felt a little more like a docu-series. This felt a little bit more show-like. Yeah.
Yep.
But overall, still awesome. Great to see. And just, it looks so good. Like, it is such a good-looking series.
I know.
Which...
Now, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was going to ask, Ty and Nathaniel, did you guys get a chance to read that Twitter thread I sent you?
You know, I had not yet.
It's very good.
Yeah, that was kind of just about how Drive to Survive has really turned Americans on to racing, but as a kind of viewing it as as a marketing style kind of setup, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I definitely do want to read that. If you maybe
very, very good.
Maybe link it in the tweet this week or something.
I was also
like that.
thinking about we could go into that a little bit more in depth, and if we do end up doing that bit of sizzle on season 4, which I would do. So
true.
But yeah,
also in the F1 realm, I watched Schumacher this week, which is the
okay.
Yeah,
nice.
The Michael Schumacher documentary that I think came out last year on Netflix as well.
It did,
I believe
it was late last year.
Yeah, so I think Adam, did you say you watched that?
Yeah, me and Ty both did. I
okay.
Correct.
Yeah, so finally got to that, which is cool. I obviously knew Michael Schumacher's name and like just by being a fan and watching Top Gear over the few years and that kind of stuff. But it was cool to kind of see his rise and kind of where he was. I didn't realize it was so recent. I always had this idea of his kind of success being in the early 90s, but it really came kind of post 2000 and everything in there. And obviously he was unfortunately in that awful accident. And I can remember being overseas and living there, and that still being a topic of conversation among just British fans and stuff 4 years later, and just everything with that. So very, very emotional documentary, I would say overall, but worth a watch if you like F1 for sure, and want to have a little bit more history or anything like that. If you are a new fan that came on with like the Drive to Survive crew and everything like that. Definitely worth a watch.
It was very nice for me watching that because that was shortly after I finished Drive to Survive, and I started watching the live series and like learning a bit more about the historic drivers and everything like that.
Sure.
Is great to catch up in that way. And I'd love it if they did one on Nikita Mazepin, right? That's his name, or not? No, Niki Lauda.
Niki Lauda.
I'm thinking of
the Russian.
See how I got those kind of a little bit mixed up.
Sure.
Not close. But yes, Niki Lauda. That'd be another great one to watch.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Or there's that one driver who passed away, I think in 2014. Ayrton Senna, I think is his name.
Ayrton Senna. But he passed away. Well, he actually passed away in a race. It's in the Schumacher documentary.
Yeah.
Yeah, so then what else did I get to this week? I actually went to the theater and saw Jujutsu Kaisen 0, which is the prequel movie to the Jujutsu Kaisen series.
Still need to get on that, and I might soon.
Yeah, if anyone is curious on that series or anything like that, and you have access to a movie theater, that is actually the prequel to the series. It's what was written as the proof of concept to the manga magazine originally, and then once they had approved that, he actually wrote the rest of the series. So you don't have to know anything going into it. Everything's basically explained for you and everything, and it even focuses on some different characters that then come in later in the series. But overall, it was really cool. It does that classic anime thing where or anime movie thing, I should say, where it feels like a series of about 4 episodes all built together rather than your traditional kind of arc of a movie. But beautiful to look at. Awesome voice acting overall. The voice of Shinji makes an appearance as the main character.
Ooh.
Yeah, so that was pretty
Nice.
cool. But yeah. And what is the other thing I got to? We also got to a couple episodes of the show Our Flag Means Death. Has anyone else heard of that so far?
I've not.
I have not.
Yeah, it's on.
Is that another anime?
No, it is on HBO Max. It stars Reese Darby, as well as a bunch of other folks, but and is executive produced and also features in a couple of episodes Taika Waititi as well. So it is about, it is set in like the 1700s. It's about this guy who was a pirate, a true pirate, Stede Bonnet, who was a gentleman of the landed gentry in England and just left that to go become pirates. So it's very funny, very kind of out there. If you've seen What We Do in the Shadows or, Flight of the Conchords or something like that, it's very much in that vein. And, yeah, it's a fun show. So we were 2 episodes in on that. I think it might have just wrapped its first season on HBO Max, but I think it's worth a watch for just kind of a light thing every now and then. And then I also got to the next episode of Turning the Tables this week, which was focusing on Life of Pablo, which was a fun one as well, too.
You shot me a text on that one.
I certainly did. And that was a fun one as well. So other than that, X was the big thing I got to this week, and I will kick it on over to Tyler.
Hello. I got around to some of the same things. One of them was I actually finished Drive to Survive Season 4 as well. And I can't remember if I finished it like the same morning, like leading right up to the race, or if I finished it Saturday night. I think it might have been Sunday morning. I don't really remember, but started a thread. We've had a thread for a while with Sam and Matt Swedberg brothers, and we have. I was watching the last episode right before the race, I believe, and I was just like, I'm so jazzed right now, like I can't even begin to put it in words. And then we all just kind of were like, son of a bitch, like
We're back,
and then everything popped off, and the Grand Prix was absolutely insane. Not mad at the outcome at all. Not overly joyed, but definitely more happy than mad that racing's back. You get like a legendary team tier 1-2 finish.
Absolutely.
And it's a lot of fun. And I'm just glad that that fucking racing's back.
Like I said last week, I think Charles Leclerc is a sleeper for being in contention for world champion, man. I mean, obviously it's one race, but the fact that they finished 1-2 like that, he's been driving a subpar Ferrari and doing well, and now that he's got he's in a top tier vehicle. I mean, man,
I'm just so happy for Kevin Magnussen and Gunther
Bro,
Steiner.
I was gonna say K-Mag coming back is just a blast, and just being in a Haas and putting up a 5 spot is just absolutely incredible.
That's been like my underdog team, my midfield team that I've been rooting for, and then like the fact that there seems to be finding some success, and hopefully that can be maintained. But good for them.
There's just something so lovable about how sad Gunther Steiner is all the time. Like, he's just a hard luck loser. Like, it's just
great.
It's never his fault. He's always battling the odds, and he's just a man at the end of his rope. Like,
yeah.
You can see him going to the mirror and be like, "You're a damn good team principal, Gunther Steiner."
I love him.
Me too.
Well, anyways, besides racing, we've had New Girl on just kind of in the background, and then over the past couple of days I've been in Wisconsin, and we left Sunday night and we just got back last night, so didn't really watch a ton. We did watch a couple of movies at the end of the night, just with her grandmother. It was just me, Carolee, and her grandma up there, and it was a lot of fun, and it was just nice to kind of decompress. And like when I tell you there's nobody up there, there's fucking nobody up there.
Sure.
We were probably 45 minutes away from like the closest like place you could buy like groceries at. And it was still snowing. At one point it was snowing like pretty heavily. If you go outside, you can't hear anything. There's like no sound, and because there's like a blanket of snow everywhere, it's still like eerily, if that's eerily quiet.
Yeah,
It's
being in any kind of location like that where it's very.
Oh man, it's just incredible.
Yeah, something about it, and just even like things smell different. It's very fresh outside. There's like no pollution in the air. You know what I mean? It's different, dude.
It's wild.
When you realize how there's always cars in the background, and then when there's finally no cars, it's just that weird moment.
You could hear a car coming from like a mile away.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a lot of fun. But yeah, very, very cool. But we only watched a couple movies at the end of the night, like I said, and we got around to The Heat, which is older Sandra Bullock and God, what's her name?
Melissa McCarthy.
Yeah, McCarthy. And I tried to warn Carolia that it was probably not grandmother appropriate.
Sure.
And she just did not really remember
Oh,
how bad it was. And we even played the theatrical version versus the unrated version.
Right.
And
still a little raunchy.
Still a lot of F-bombs. Still, it's I was just like I luckily wasn't able to see grandma from where I was sitting. I was like laying on the couch, just being able to keep my head on the TV. But I was just like, oh my god. And then the other one we got around to was The Greatest Showman. Even though we had recently just watched that, that's definitely a good grandma movie. Seeing as a lot more musicals happened back in the day, so she enjoyed that a lot better. So, but other than that, that's all I have been around lately. That's all I got.
Yeah, that's dope.
Yeah.
Shout out grandma.
So, Blake, what have you been watching, man?
Yeah, so I had I guess kind of an eventful list. I think most of that because I was just looking for an escape of stress. So I was like, I'm just gonna put some shit on and start watching it. It's usually how things to go. So first, to gear up to watch X, I actually watched Evil Dead, the 2013 remake.
Okay.
And then I also watched Cabin Fever.
The original.
Nice.
Yeah, the original, not the remake from like 2015.
Yeah, that sucked.
It's really bad. But just kind of wanted to get something that was like a very campy type vibe, you know what I mean?
For sure.
So put those on. Those are older movies. Well, Evil Dead remakes 2013. I've kind of talked about this on the podcast a lot. One of the better remakes in my opinion. Cabin Fever, the original one. That's Eli Roth.
Yeah, I think that's his first one, isn't it?
You mean Zachary Quinto?
Episode 2. Yeah, I was like, episode 2 of the podcast joke. You had to be there. But that may be his first film. Let me see.
I think that was his first big release, at least. He might have had a few student films or short films, but I'm pretty sure that was his first feature. And
I know that's 2003.
Yeah, somewhere in there. Eli, he wrote that after he worked a summer at a horse farm and got a horrible skin infection from the hay, and it was just itching and the skin was coming off, and that's where he got the idea for that movie.
Fair. Okay, cool. So that's kind of what I deep dove on that. I rewatched Dune. So I rewatched that. Yeah, just so I was like, let me put something good on this OLED, and I was like, why not Dune, right? So at that point, we put it on, and that movie's good, man.
Yeah,
it's good. There's no way around it. Even like the sound design, and I didn't even have any like external speakers or anything set up yet, but it's just awesome from the time where they go into like the silence chamber when she's speaking to the Baron. Just footsteps and things echo. Like that movie's done how a film should be done. It's how that movie's done through thick and thin. That one's awesome, and it looks phenomenal. It looks phenomenal on IMAX. It looks phenomenal on OLED. So great movie. That's one thing I got to. The next thing I got to.
You teased Denny V earlier.
That's when you mentioned Blade Runner 2049.
Yeah,
and that's when I was like, you know what? I like Blade Runner 2049. I think Dune can challenge that for his best looking film.
Wow.
It could. It's the same cinematographer, right?
No, I don't think it is. No.
It is different. You're right. It is different because the one did the Blade Runner 2049 cinematographer, didn't he pass away?
He may have, but that was Roger Deakins.
He did.
If he's not,
let me check.
Let's not kill Roger Deakins if he's still alive. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I'm not sure about that, but just off rewatching that, I think I want to try to watch.
He's still alive.
Blade Runner 2049, which I did maybe a few months back, but I want to try to rewatch that and run it back. But I think Dune can challenge that because there's some shots in that are
stunning,
awesome. But as we always say, his sense of scale to things is crazy. Just from the ships, the sand dunes, the worms, just how things look. You're like, that thing's massive. that's kind of that. Also, another one I got to that I've been trying to get to for a while, and I finally found it on Vudu. I bought it for like $3. It was Get Rich or Die Trying. So it's 50
Okay.
Cent's movie. And that's one that I just been meaning to watch since the Super Bowl, and I saw him at halftime. I was like, I gotta rewatch that movie. It's one I haven't seen in years. So I got around to that, and yeah, that's one of those movies. Not great. It's not a Training Day. It's nothing of that nature. It's not a Paid in Full, anything like that. But just one of those movies I've seen like as a child, and I was like, oh, well, it's a movie on 50 Cent's life. It's like 8 Mile. You know
Right.
what I mean? One of those. If you like hip hop, I would at least try to watch it. So yeah, pretty interesting. Terrence Howard is in there as well, which I totally forgot that Terrence Howard was in that. He plays like one of his right hand mans. So yeah, very interesting. That's our earlier one. That might be like 2003, like prime 50 Cent. He was making albums, movies, video games. He was like on top of the world at that point.
G-Unit was big.
Yeah, man. That'd be, and another reason I kind of wanted to get to that one was the Super Bowl, and then also turning the tables and just hearing them
Sure.
like get on like old Kanye West.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
was like, oh, like I don't know how deep he'll go into a dive. I guess if that's even a phrase
It is
in
now.
hip hop, but he's awfully close to like the 50 Cent era.
He
It's
is.
like the
Yeah.
early Kanye era is like 2004. And like
Right.
if he were to go back like 2 or 3 years, he'd run into 50 Cent era where he was a complete mogul. You know what I
Right,
mean?
right,
Video
of
games,
course.
movies, everything. So that'd be something cool to see. And then that's another one of those films where you just totally forget the list of hits that 50 Cent has on that album, and like all the songs are in the movie. You know, I'm just like, oh my god, I forgot that song down there too. So yeah, pretty good.
Many man.
Yeah, so he's got like scenes in there where like he's making that, like 21 Questions, all those songs. So pretty good. And then I think that's it, fellas. Yep, no, that's it for me. And some YouTube. So that's it. I didn't get to the Turning the Tables Life of Pablo though. I know that Daniel shot me a text.
Yeah, man. Like I said, Kevin the dad's just becoming one of my favorite people on the internet. Like, it's just he's such a like earnest,
That page
just
is awesome.
good-hearted dude. Like I love his reaction to everything. Where it's just like, holy crap, this is insane. Like, this is awesome. Like, it's just such the right attitude to have about just anything that you're coming across, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
He keeps such an open mind too. It's
Yeah,
a lot of people in that generation are very close-minded to that, and he just was not listening to anything new.
right. Yeah, I just think it's a really kind of lovely little relationship that they have on there. So good vibes all around.
It'll be interesting to see what they go into next.
Absolutely.
They'll go into another artist or anything, but yeah, cool. That's all I got. Adam, you want to take it away?
Yeah, I can finish this off here. So, I guess I'll just go to the Bahrain Grand Prix, watch that, of course. Good race. A disappointing end for Red Bull, who I think I'm gonna keep rooting for as of now. I like all the drivers. It's hard to pick one. I just like everyone winning and being successful. It's fun to see different teams be on top every different races. So, but yeah, good race. Excited for the next season. I love how short of an off season they have. Less than 100 days in between the end of last season to this season. Like that's great. That's a good, nice little break. You're never really missing it too much. So I like that a lot. Restarted Ozark from the beginning as kind of to cover it back all 3 seasons leading to the 4th, and then I think the last half of the 4th season comes out at the end of April. So it's kind of restarted that. Gonna slowly chug through. Attack on Titan, watched 2 or 3 more episodes of that. Things have finally like escalated to that point I've been kind of alluding to past few episodes as I've been watching, and it's really good. I'm so excited to catch up, and I think there's maybe 1 or 2 more episodes left to be released left in the series. I don't know where it's at story wise, but I remember my friend saying there's like where they're at, they could like potentially leave room for like a movie to do, which I wouldn't be opposed to. That'd be a cool way to end it off, but yeah, we'll have to see on that. Let's see. I watched a movie called Zola. Have you guys seen this?
I've
It's
wanted to
A24.
see this. It's based off that crazy Twitter thread from like
It is,
years
yes.
ago.
So I'm aware of what it is in the story just from the internet, but I haven't seen the film. But that story's crazy as shit.
It is, and so is the film. The film does
Yeah, I could
a really
imagine.
good
Yeah,
job.
yeah.
And then what's his face from? I always forget his name. He's in Ma Rainey's. He's in Euphoria. Something Coleman, I think.
Oh, Domingo.
Domingo Coleman. Yeah, or Domingo. No, it's not it. Domingo. Oh my God, I'm so.
But he
It
plays.
is sorry, Coleman Domingo.
There we go.
There we go. We were close. We were close. He's in it, and he's fantastic again. He's becoming one of my favorite actors, and I hope he breaks out a little bit more because he's gotten bigger roles. Obviously, Ma Rainey's, and I think a lot of that stemmed from Euphoria. That's the big thing I've seen him in, or like started seeing him in. He's gotten roles like this since then, but I think he could really turn into a Jesse Plemons, if you will, and pick up some good roles here in the future because I really like him, and I think he's a great actor. But yeah, Zola was crazy. That was really good. Would recommend it for sure, especially for an A24 movies. It's an A24 movie that it's fun. It's like tense and obviously crazy stuff happens, but it's still like really fun and the directing and stylization of it is great too. And a crazy story. I remember hearing about the Zola thing because it was back in 2015, which in retrospect is what 7 years ago now.
Yeah.
So it's been a while, but right. So it's been a while since then, but good story.
I just want to say, like, for me, real quick, just like as a participant in this podcast and everything, and just like getting to watch Adam obviously grow and all this stuff. It's so exciting for me for you to like find actors that aren't like, you know, main name actors or anything like that you just enjoy their work and like start to like notice them in other areas and stuff like that. I was like, he's becoming a film douche with me. Like it warms my humble brag master's degree heart to just hear.
We're getting there, Nathaniel. We're getting there.
To hear you
One
come
day,
up
maybe
with
I
your
can
own
catch
stuff.
up a little bit. Yeah. And then the last thing I got to was the first episode of my personally much anticipated release of the Halo series. About a decade in the making, we finally have the Halo TV show that they announced with the launch of the Xbox One back in like 2013. Yeah, it's been a long time. It's been through a lot of turmoil, but it's here, and it's not canon. And there was a quote that was released from the showrunner that I forgot his name, but we reported on him at some point. There was a quote from him saying, they didn't look at the games as kind of inspiration for the show. Like they had input from 343, the main developer of it, but they personally, while making it, didn't really reference the games that much, which I had kind of mixed feelings about because as a personal Halo fan, I'd love it if they did and like they made it very faithful, but also the fact that this isn't canon, that doesn't bother me if it's not canon. Like that doesn't bother me as much, and I also kind of understand where they're coming from with that because you want this to be approachable to a wider audience than just people who are fans of Halo. Because the TV show, spending that much on a TV show, you have to make sure that you're getting numbers beyond, you know, the few thousands of people that are still, you know, dedicated fans to Halo. So you had to kind of generalize a little bit more, and so I kind of understood where he was coming from with that. After watching this first episode, I definitely enjoyed it, but it really isn't what I think a lot of like dedicated Halo fans want. And at this point, based on what I kind of just, you know, referencing what I just kind of said, where you can't make a show for a specific group of people like that, such a small group. I don't know if we ever will see that kind of show that a lot of us that love Halo would like to see. So that's a little disappointing, but it's still good. I'm interested to see where it goes. Like the storyline is fine so far. They're kind of pinning Master Chief as a rogue again, kind of as they did in the marketing campaign up to Halo 5.
Can I ask you your opinions on Master Chief and kind of how he's played? Because that's played by Pablo Schreiber, who I very much enjoy.
Correct. And it's already been on Twitter quite a bit, but they do show Master Chief's face in the first episode. Yes.
Wow.
Which is a bit of a spoiler, but like, yeah, you knew they were gonna do it. I just didn't expect it to be this soon.
Sure. Well, I guess after Mandalorian too, maybe that kind of like they were playing against
and that was a joke that me and my roommate Noah too made as we watched it. Is there at one point there's a character that asks, you know, do you ever take that off? And I go, no, I live by the Mandalore code. And Noah goes, this is the way.
Of course.
Yeah, we both started cracking up. Yeah, because we were kind of riffing on the show a little bit as I was going, and that was fun. But
Pablo's
yeah,
good.
it's fine. Pablo's good. Yeah, Pablo's good. And honestly, when he took off the helmet, I wasn't even that mad about it. It's not canon, because that's a big thing in the games for anyone who hasn't played
Sure.
Halo games. You never see Master Chief. You play as him almost all the games
I was
except for
going to
2.
ask, do they ever show his face in the game?
And they don't. That's a big thing. The closest they've gotten to showing his face is at the end of Halo 4. He finally takes off his armor. Like throughout the Halo games, it's one continuous story, and it's for the most part back to back to back. There's a few time jumps where he's in cryo sleep, of course, because it's science fiction, of course. Yeah, that's a given. So at the end of Halo 4, he finally takes the armor off after he's been through years now of just constant war and fighting. And then they show the back of his head, and he's bald and extremely pale because he's never, doesn't get exposed to sunlight a lot. That's the furthest they've gone, is showing the back of his head.
And then he had a barcode, and it was actually Hitman.
Yeah, it was an Agent 47 crossover, exactly. So yeah, that's the closest they've gotten in the games, and right off the rip in this one, they do it, which is it's
Is
fine.
this week by week, or is everything up?
It is week by week. They only released the first episode, which is I think about 40 minutes long. It was actually longer than I was expecting. And I don't know. Let me look up because I was actually curious as I was watching this. I don't know how many episodes there are.
Natasha
8 to
McElhone,
10.
I like as well too. She's
What?
Natasha McElhone. She's playing Dr. Catherine Halsey. I'm just looking at the cast list here.
Yes, I recognized her. I didn't know her name, and she's actually a pretty good fit for Halsey. I like what they're doing with that. And then they have some. They've already set up their UNSC commanders that are, of course, going to be very bureaucratic and everything, and all of that. There are 9 episodes in this season, which is it's a good amount. I don't know if all of them are going to be 40 minutes long. If they are, I'd be very pleased, because 9 episodes, 40 minutes apiece. That's a pretty sizable story that you're going to get through. So I'm pleased. The production quality is good for the most part.
For Paramount Plus?
For Paramount Plus and for a TV show like this, I
Sure.
mean, there are some times like the CGI is not great. And sometimes it lacks, but they do prioritize where they spend their CGI budget. There are some shots that are look much better than others.
What about characters?
The CGI Covenant look fine. Like it's acceptable. It's not stellar. It's not like you're not getting Planet of the Apes level motion capture, pristine CGI, everything like that. But it's acceptable. It's passable. And then the Spartans themselves, the suits look great, but when they're moving around, you can tell it's just very clunky. The movement's a little awkward, and I just don't know how much you can do around that, because anytime you obviously in the games it looks super cool, but when you translate that to real life, that's a big bulky suit that you got on. So all the actors who play the Spartans, they do it a little bit kind of clunky. So. But that's a small thing again. I think this so far, if you like and enjoy Halo, this is worth checking out. I don't know if I'd recommend it to anyone who doesn't yet. I'd have to see where this goes a little bit more. But that being said, that's all I got to this week. Besides, of course, X. Single X, not triple X. X. Nathaniel. If the listener here is new, or maybe they've just forgotten, can you give them a rundown of how our review segment works?
What up, listeners? If you are new, or perhaps you've just forgotten, the way our review segment works is as follows. It's basically broken down into 2 segments. There's the non-spoiler section, and then there's the spoiler section. In the non-spoiler section, which I will say, we will shout out, or we will call out the spoilers for you. They will be in the show notes, so if you don't want to have anything spoiled for you, it's there. But in the non-spoiler section, we'll go over the IMDb plot summary, kind of the IMDb page itself, who's in it, who wrote it, all that good stuff. We'll go around, give our first reactions, recommendations. Then we'll go around and decide whether we recommend this movie. It's got to be a yes or no. There is no nuance on the internet. And from then on, it will be spoilers. We'll go deep into any plot twists or any cool moments. Obviously, this is a little bit of a horror movie, so there are some spoilers that are going to be into it. And do come back, though, after we've kind of delved into our deeper thoughts and our, maybe big opinions on the film itself, and see where it ranks on our Entropy list, which is our big list of everything we've watched on the podcast ranked. So with that being said, IMDb, Adam, tell me about X.
I would love to. This is a new movie, of course, rated R, with a runtime of 1 hour and 45 minutes. A nice, perfect, sweet spot for a horror film. And an IMDb rating of 7.4 out of 10, which is very respectable, I would say, for IMDb ratings. That's a little bit above average, I would say.
And a horror movie as well too. Those are typically
And a horror movie as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because not everybody enjoys those, or some people have different standards. So definitely 7.4, pretty solid for this one. Directed and written by Ty West, who has a hand in VHS, right?
Yeah, he directed one of the original segments in the movie in the first VHS.
The first one, it's the honeymoon one.
Oh,
the
yes.
Couple when they're on the
Yes.
retreat.
Which I think is probably one of the creepier segments in that film overall. He also did a couple of other movies that I really enjoyed. The Sacrament was one, and then what was his other kind of big one? The House of the Devil, which Blake, if you haven't seen that one, definitely recommend from me for that one.
I haven't. I've heard of it though for years. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? One of those that's just always been on the radar. But
Kind of definitely a big 70s kind of like throwback, and he always does a really good job, I think, of capturing kind of the era that he wants to use, which I think actually comes in on this film too a little bit, which we may delve into a little bit later as well. But yeah, sorry.
Cool.
Adam, and who's starring in this?
This is starring. Sorry, let me scroll down. Mia Goth as the lead, Maxine, Jenna Ortega, Brittany Snow, Kid Cudi, Martin Henderson, Owen Campbell, and Stephen Ure.
I'd say that's the main cast on there.
Yeah,
kind of a small cast too. Not a huge
small scale story as well.
For sure.
I don't know who here has. I don't know if any of these people have been featured on the Entropy list yet.
Jenna Ortega is in Scream.
Yes, that's right. Yes, which is that's where I recognized her from.
Yeah, they're pushing her to be like the next new Scream queen type thing.
Yeah,
but she's also in like The Babysitter on Netflix.
I like her though. Yeah, she's good.
Yeah, she's good. I like her too.
The IMDb summary reads as follows. In 1979, a group of young filmmakers set out to make an adult film in rural Texas, but when their reclusive, elderly hosts catch them in the act, the cast find themselves fighting for their lives. Good IMDb summary. Not too revealing, but also pretty accurate to the setup. I actually really don't know how much I have to fill in here in the non-spoilers. I mean, you have your main cast, a crew of six. Main crew of six plus the two elderly hosts, as mentioned in the IMDb summary. And it's more of like a small scale, very secluded kind of murder mystery, or not murder mystery, but murder horror film, like a cabin setting almost. You can kind of go along those lines there. But yeah, I think that's it for the IMDb summary. Thoughts here, guys. Before we get into it, actually, Blake and I wanted to know how your experience went, Blake, seeing this alone, because I went ahead. I think I talked about this when I saw Last Night in Soho in that episode. Went back to the indie art house cinema here in Columbia, Missouri, called Ragtag, the Ragtag Cinema, which shows smaller movies like this, not all of the big screens. I had to correct myself. I went back. They do have two screens. They have a smaller second theater that I was viewing this one in, so there isn't just one. There's two. But I showed up for a 4:00 matinee. Got there right at 4. Got my latte. Once again, only one in the theater, which I was a little more apprehensive of this time because last time
of course,
kind of horror, but this is like straight horror. And so I walk in, and I walk into the theater. Look around. I can barely see anything as it is because it's just a very dark room. When there's no lighting on like other AMC theaters would keep on until the previews are done or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. Very dark. I'm the only one there. I go, okay, scope out my seat, get comfortable, take off the mask, sip of my latte as I watch the previews, send you guys a Snapchat updating you guys on what's about to happen. And so we go into the movie, and I think it added to how kind of scared I was, because like objectively speaking, I think if I saw this with other people, I don't think this movie is that scary. But having that theater to myself in a big open space with like sitting in the middle of the theater too, because that's where the couches were, and versus the regular seats in the back, I was like, I'm gonna be comfy. I'm gonna sit in the couches. So I had that space behind me as well. Like I don't know if someone is
sure,
kind of thing.
of course.
Yeah, so that added to it too. And then middle of the movie, I don't know if an employee did this on purpose to mess with me, but there's like an employee's only door that leads into the screening area, and I heard that door jiggle twice, and I was like, uh-oh, I don't like this.
This is it.
I don't like this. So the rest of the movie, every once in a while, I'll be checking over my shoulder at that door, making sure no one's coming through. And then, got through the movie, survived, of course, obviously. And I stand up to collect my things, and I look back at the projector, and next to the next to the projector window is another window, and I just see a face staring at me. And it made me literally jump out of my shoes almost. And I thought it was just an employee messing with me, and no, it is just a sticker of what looked like Ronald Reagan. I don't know if it was
Hilarious.
but just like a sticker of like a Ronald Reagan looking guy. Might have been him.
Was
just,
it like a
smiling?
Was it like a cardboard cutout from like one of the
Almost
yeah.
something like that. But it was like just plastered onto the window.
That's
I
hilarious.
was like, God damn it, man! I got all the way through. Like the credits are rolling, and that's the biggest scare I've had the entire time.
Got you good, fucker.
Yeah, they got me good, man. They got me good. So
Yeah.
I was in a hurry to get out of that theater, to say the least. But yeah, then Blake, you sent the text. You also had a bigger AMC theater alone to yourself as well, right?
Yeah, dude. So I went to the AMC out here in Niles, which is really close to me. And there's actually another one that's a dine-in in Rosemont, which is about just as close.
Mhm.
But I wanted to catch it alone, and the Rosemont is a dine-in one. So like I said, that usually has people in there at all times. So I went to the smaller one. I was like, I'm gonna try to catch this movie alone. And I went I think I had like a 7:00 showing or something like that. And it was good. I mean, I'm a horror guy, as you guys know. I mean, but it's always creepy seeing a movie by yourself in a theater, right? Especially a horror movie, to be completely honest with you. But I think that's also what kind of makes the movie hit home a little bit more. You know what I mean? Where I get kind of a little more of a kick out of it. So it was interesting to say the least. I actually had a good chat with one of the workers afterwards. So somebody came in to kind of clean it up, and he just asked me like, "Oh, how'd you like it? And I stayed for the post-credit scene as well.
Oh, I didn't know there was one.
Did you guys do that?
No,
Oh,
I didn't.
Yeah.
I was kind of in a rush to get out of there.
Yeah, you were terrified of Ronald Reagan.
You scared
Yeah,
the shit out of you, you gotta leave.
Yeah, for more than one reason this time.
Yeah. So yeah, no, then I just end up staying for that, then talking to somebody afterwards, and we just kind of shared thoughts. So it was pretty cool. I had a pleasant viewing experience for sure.
All right.
Good to hear.
All right. So yeah, well, you want to go brief thoughts, I guess, or what are we doing here, fellas? Yeah, we're down spoilers, are we?
No, we're not in spoilers yet. We're
Yeah,
definitely
non-spoiler talk
Okay.
here. I'll kick it over to Blake or Nathaniel. Either one of you guys are obviously the resident horror experts. As you
Yeah.
like to say.
I'll kick it off. It was good, man. I went in blind though, to be honest with you. So I
Sure.
didn't watch any of the trailers. And I think that also helped. I had an idea, right, that
Sure.
they were obviously going to make a pornography film. That was like the only thing I really knew. I didn't know the setting. I didn't really know. I was like, it's probably a slasher. Just kind of things that you just have an idea of being
Of
a horror
course.
fan, but no trailers or anything. Just I went in blind. And I think that actually paid off in this, to be completely honest with you.
Yeah, that sounds like the best way
I
to
was
go
trying
about
to
it.
figure out, hey, what's going on? Then sure enough, the ball kind of gets rolling. And like once the ball gets rolling on this thing, like it's fucking rolling for sure. And it probably takes off maybe an hour into it, which
Yeah.
I found pretty pleasant. It's not like you jump straight in 10 minutes in, like they're
It perfectly
Right.
ramps up.
You
It
know what I
doesn't do
mean?
what some horror movies do, where it kind of gives you some tension throughout the middle of the
Right.
movie. It just slowly ramps up with not much in the beginning, and eventually
Yeah.
you're at that climax, and it rides out there for a while.
Yeah. It was yeah, I would say brief and quick overall, it was good. It was good. I'd recommend it.
Ty, why don't you talk a little bit?
Nathaniel? Sure. Nathaniel, Ty, whoever.
I can talk.
Yeah, I want to hear your thoughts on it because you saw this. You're fresh. You saw this today, right?
Yeah.
Okay. What was your viewing experience, and were you by yourself?
I tried to be by myself. I was not. When I purchased tickets, it was me and a group of two in front of me. Small theater at Schaumburg. Theater 4, if you will, if you want a little more description.
Oh, yes, thank you.
Yeah,
Yes.
thank you.
So
that
you go
paints
left.
the picture perfectly.
Yeah,
Now.
I
You
know.
go left and then you take another left. It's closer to an exit,
Are you
which I
talking,
was okay
are you
with.
talking streets, or are you talking AMC 30 Barrington or whatever they changed that to?
Barrington.
It's the AMC
Okay.
Barrington. Yeah, South Barrington AMC.
Yeah.
And when I got in there, there was even more people. So I was like, all right, that's
Oh.
cool as long as nobody's loud. I don't give a shit. So I'm kind of on my seat or whatever, and I'm actually sitting like right next to like a mom and what either seems to be like her daughter or her girlfriend. So I'm like, oh crap.
whoa. Yeah.
So I'm like, this is either gonna ruin my experience or it's gonna enhance it. And it actually was pretty good. And we'll kind of get around to my reaction and stuff like that. But overall, I'm a recommend. I think this was pretty good. I went into this completely blind as well. I think I may have seen the first trailer when it originally came out, but I didn't really note anything of it, and I was just kind of like, whatever, sure. I'm sure I'll get around to whatever that is. But yeah, completely blind. I was pleasantly surprised, and I'm a recommend.
Yeah, I my kind of experience was a little bit different, I suppose, too, because I actually watched the trailer like 7 times.
Okay, right.
Yeah,
So you knew what was going on then.
Well, in some ways, there's certain ways. I will say that, and this isn't really a spoiler. Early on in the film, it tells you that everything takes place in about 24 hours, and based on the trailer, I thought that was going to be a little bit different. I thought it was going to be a little bit longer overall.
Same.
So I thought that was interesting going back off that. But kind of what Adam's saying, it is that kind of it goes and then it kind of just takes off and just keeps going, which I always enjoy in a film. We saw this, both Brandon and I, and Blake was supposed to be there, but unfortunately he had the car or the tire issue that prevented him from going. But excuse me. Yeah, overall I really enjoyed this. I saw, I have so many thoughts. There's a lot to talk about with this movie, I feel like. But yeah, it was good. I felt like it was pretty creepy overall. It definitely gave me Texas Chainsaw Massacre vibes, like the original overall for sure. There's a lot of, I think, pretty deep kind of horror cuts that Ty West is working with here. It just, the story that it tells is not one that I think I've come across before in horror, which is something I'm always excited about. In terms of like overall scariness, I wouldn't say it's like necessarily that scary of a movie. But that's always subjective, and one thing I always hate is when someone like really rags on a horror movie for not being quote unquote scary to them, because that's part of horror, right? But it's not supposed to be everything. So yeah, I'm definitely a big recommend on this. I'll definitely go into some more thoughts in spoilers themselves. I think all of the acting is very good. I think the direction is also done very well. There's a couple interesting kind of points that Ty West chooses to make within the film and concerning like shot basically transition. Shot transition between a couple different things. He kind of switches back and forth between the same shot a couple different times, which I thought was really interesting as well. Makeup's all good. The overall atmosphere, I think, is great. The soundtrack's really well done, I think, too. Great little kind of like slice of life from that time period. So yeah, I'm a big recommend overall on X. See if you can catch it in a theater or, just watch it overall. Adam?
Yeah, I would kind of just echo everything that's been said already. I think my expectations might have been set a little too high from that trailer.
Sure.
And that might have decreased my enjoyment a little bit. But it overall, like, it is good, and I definitely recommend. Like, I did enjoy my time with it, but I was just hoping based on that trailer that it was something special, and it wasn't. And that's fine. Not everything can be, and I think it's still good enough to appreciate and enjoy, and I think you'll still like it. Definitely some great directing and interesting choices that I liked a lot. Like that cutting that you're kind of referencing was a very stylized choice that's repeated, and every time I was doing it, I was like, this feels intentional. Of course it's intentional, but it feels like it has some kind of a purpose and
Sure.
is kind of adding to it a little bit. So yeah, I definitely liked all of that aspect. Acting is actually really good. Like throughout, I think they all fit their characters very well, and as well as the time period, the set dressing and everything. And when you have a smaller scale movie like this, it's easier to do that because you have to rely on, you have to rely on less to tell that era,
Right.
if that makes sense. You don't have as many. If this was happening in a bigger city, you'd have a lot more to worry about as far as making sure everything looks like it's 1979. But this is a very very small story with a small cast and a small setting, so they were able to kind of put more attention into these smaller details since there weren't as many big ones to cover, which I appreciated a lot. But yeah, I'm definitely recommend. I think this would be worth watching in a theater, potentially alone if you want to get the same experience I did. But even if it's not, it comes to VOD sometime soon. That's definitely worth renting or checking out if you can watch for free. I liked it. I liked it a lot.
For sure.
Yeah. Is everybody here recommend then? Sounds like.
I think 4 recommends. It's good to be back in the horror film realm a little bit.
We had to take a little break. We had to take a breather.
We seem to end up here quite often, but yeah, it's
yeah, and that's fine.
Yeah.
We got to give some horror movies love, man. They don't get enough of it. All right, well, I think that's gonna do it then for a non-spoiler talk here, guys. So if you have not seen X and do not want it spoiled for you, go ahead, check that episode description where I've left a timestamp you can jump to where you'll be taken to our ranking of the movie, hop upon the Entropy list.
Hop upon.
Spoiler time.
Shit goes down.
It does.
It certainly does.
I had
doesn't
no
for a
idea
bit,
what the fuck I signed up for.
Okay.
And so I'll kind of just walk you through it because, like I said, going in completely blind, didn't really know. First, we see the old people, and I'm like, they're kind of creepy. I'm not sure. But then when the lady gets in the pool and it gives me Craw vibes, then I'm like, oh, this is awesome. Is this like a creature flick?
Okay.
I thought it was going to be like just getting mobbed by alligators. You know what I mean? I was like, oh, I'd be on board for that too, And then once I kind of found out that wasn't the case, you obviously do get the one gator kill. But yeah, it was interesting. Didn't quite really know what was going on. I knew the grandfather seemed like awfully weird, right?
Sure.
Grandma just kind of seemed like mentally ill. But yeah, I think from the moment, what's his name? RJ?
Yeah.
Is that yeah. And he totally reminds me of the guy from
Evil Dead.
They all have like stereotypical roles. Yes, and fucking Cabin in the Woods. Like
Sure.
he reminds me of the same guy. That's what I thought it was the whole time.
Sure. Yeah.
I was like, he's gonna be one of those actors, and he's neither of them.
Yeah, no, he's not. It looks exactly like the guy from Evil Dead 2013 to me, though. Like the one that summons everyone.
Yeah. So yeah, I was like, and then it's not him. But from the moment like he tries to leave and he just gets fucking gutted, I was like, and that was a really gory kill too.
Yeah, bro.
Oh my god, it was brutal.
And it just, the movie took off after that, man. So yeah, that was one of those. I caught that in the theater. I was like, ooh, I like set up a little bit, you know what I mean?
Sure.
Set up. So, yeah. What do you guys think? Just kind of jumping all over the place.
Yeah. Old people are creepy as fuck. Like that's kind of the moral of the story, right? And they're still weird. And like there is a horror to getting old and not being able to do what you used to do, right? Like that I think is kind of the moral of the story at the end of it. And like, and just the idea that I feel like this is a very kind of pointed message in some ways of like, yeah, we've always been weird freaks that are obsessed with sex, but like now it's just like it was that era of like I think this movie positions, the younger generation of there as like kind of the supposedly think they're getting something new or anything like that, or they're being transgressive or they're being what's the word I'm looking for? Shocking or something like that. And it's like, well, no, people were always doing this. They were just, freaks have always been around. Like, and I think that's just an interesting idea to be thinking about that we would find sex between old people weird and creepy and just off-putting as well too. And I think coming into it, having seen some of Ty West's other movies, I was a little bit more prepared in some ways that he kind of does have a little bit of a tongue-in-cheek tone in some areas. So I might have been a little bit more prepared for kind of the way this movie reveals itself at certain points. But yeah, I thought it was just a blast. I thought it was so weird, so out there and different, but also just like we always talk about. I'm always looking for something new, something that I haven't necessarily thought about before, and especially in a horror genre where it's kind of can very easily fall stagnant. This was an example of a movie that was taking risks, taking different ideas, and doing some different stuff with it. So
Definitely. Yeah, that's just what I was going to say is like this is refreshing to see new takes and new ideas come to fruition like this.
And it's also to all your guys' point with it being a new idea, but the fact that at its ground core it's a slasher is awesome, and getting a new slasher is always cool in the horror genre,
sure.
right? Opposed to just getting like a fucking Scream was cool, but like opposed to getting a fifth Scream movie.
Sure,
right?
sure.
Like why don't we just get more shit like this? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that it was really interesting to kind of see that, and then the take on of it just being older people. And actually, funny enough, the grandmother is also played by Mia Goth,
Yes.
which
Yeah.
I didn't really figure out. And there was one shot, and like it was like on her face. It was when was it? Because at first they don't really show her. Like when she first goes into the house, like,
Correct.
she's always like shaded,
Yeah.
right? And then there was one shot, I believe
When she offers her lemonade.
it might have been. And then I got one shot at her, then I was like, that looks so much like Mia Goth.
Sure.
Like, you know what I mean? And fair enough, or sure enough, it ended up being her. But yeah, it was cool. And then is it Martin Henderson?
Yes.
Is that
Yeah.
his name?
Wayne.
Yeah. For some reason, I was like, I don't know why the fuck I think this guy is Matthew McConaughey.
Okay.
He's not. Like that's like all I can
Yeah,
think of. the whole
I got a
time
little
just
bit of
watching
Kurt
this.
Russell vibes from him.
I can see Kurt Russell too, for
Okay.
sure.
Yeah, but he was great.
yeah,
His
it
acting
was-
was one of the highlights for me. He played
Yeah,
that
yeah,
character really,
cool.
really well. I liked it a lot.
I agree. Yeah, and even Kid Cudi did pretty good as well.
Good to
Yeah,
see
he
Kid
has-
Cudi. I thought he was great.
Yeah, I was hoping he'd
Yeah.
have a little bit bigger of a role because he doesn't have a ton of lines, but the parts that he was in, I liked a lot.
Yeah, he's funny for sure.
It
That's
was
the first
so
time I've ever
good.
seen him like on a big screen or even acting in general. Like
Sure.
I don't even think has he been in a TV series before?
He's been in a couple different movies now. He was
Yeah.
in Don't Look Up, obviously, and then he was actually also in the latest Bill and Ted's.
He did say that.
Oh, I
Um,
didn't see.
Yeah, I haven't seen that either.
Yeah, but he's been doing a little bit more acting every now and then. He's good. He should do more stuff.
Good for him.
Yeah, very talented guy
Yeah.
for sure, all around. What do you think, Adam Ty?
I had a blast, man. I thought acting was really well. I thought it was written really well. I like all the kills. There's some redemption at the end. It's kind of a tragic romance. You get a lot in this, man. It's a lot of fun. The music
Yeah.
choice is fucking awesome. When they're all sitting in the cabin and Cuddy's playing the guitar and they're going through like this montage about getting older and she sings the whole
Yeah.
song and like you hear the guitar riff and anybody that's heard that song before is like, oh man, like what is this? And then they
Fleetwood
go
Mac.
through like this montage and the next 30 seconds later I find myself sitting there singing along and
Of course.
I'm like, Jesus Christ. So I had a lot of fun, man.
Do you
I
all
thought
think he was playing the guitar? He had to be.
Sure, you could.
think so, yeah.
I'm
probably-
sure.
Yeah, I wouldn't put it past him to do something like
Nah.
that.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I had a really good time. I thought it was a lot of hidden messages, and there was still some really wild ass shit. Kind of like you
Would-
said, the first kill that you see RJ. At first you think she's just gonna stick him in the neck, and then it's done. But then she gets on top of him, and
Yeah.
she just goes to town, and then she does
Yeah.
her little kind of creepy dance at the end of it, and kind of
Yeah.
her rejuvenation to being young again, and it's wild, bro. It's a good movie.
I'll ask this for you guys because this is one question I had when I came out of it. Do you think the guy that was in the basement was she just like using him for sex?
Yes.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
that was the implication that I got as well too. That she just like had kept him down there to keep everything going with that, which is oh god, like
Yeah.
there.
With his pants down.
Yeah, man. There's so many moments in this where like Waz, who's sitting next to me, who hasn't seen as many horror movies, was just going, "Oh." there's
This
certain parts.
movie is
It's grimy, man.
it's
But
not
that's
scary, but it's weird. It's very
Yeah.
unsettling.
yeah. It's just
but
that
to your point, I think older people are just unsettling. And
Right.
It's not even intentional sometimes.
well,
You know what I mean? But it's just like,
no one is comfortable with getting older, right? No one enjoys getting older and feeling like what they used to be able to do, they're not able to do anymore. Even if their
Right.
love's still there, even if everything is still is
Mhm.
still the heart wants what it wants, but the body can't keep up and everything like that. And that's just Oh man, that's a kind of a heavy theme to bring in, but also like I thought it was just played so well. Yeah, I'll shut up now. I've been talking a lot. Adam, tell us what your thoughts were as well, deeper thoughts.
Also, definitely had a lot of fun with this. I want to see it again to kind of decode more of the underlying themes that are present in this, because I think there's a lot to handle there. And like obviously obviously the getting old thing is a pretty overt one, but I think there's more subtext that could be discovered there.
Oh, 100%.
Especially with the whole preacher TV
Mhm.
preacher
And the
thing, that like motif.
And
that
how
they kept
that's
going
her.
back to. Sorry, what did you say? Oh yeah, how that's her. Yeah, but
Yeah.
like beyond that, I think there's like also some more religious themes and everything. And
Oh, absolutely.
a second viewing would probably bring to light more what those are intended for. But I enjoyed it. Definitely a lot of fun. Like the kills were pretty good too. I loved the barn one with whatever his Wayne's character. That was a
Where the eye comes
good
out.
scene. Yeah.
I thought it was hilarious. The
Yeah.
film guy, first one to go, like that felt like such a Ty West like
You could see it
criticism of
coming.
himself though too. It's kind of like that like kind of shot at the movie industry as well too, of like, and I felt like there's that parallel storyline of horror as the pornography genre and like how that's so looked down upon, and so often
Sure.
he's like, I'm just trying to make a cinematic adult film or something like that, and you could very easily swap that out for
Right. But this is beautiful. It's art.
Right,
Like,
and
you know what I mean? He's
and
not just making a porno.
you could easily like swap that metaphor for I want to make a cinematic or an art horror film too or something
Right.
like that,
Yep.
a la the Witch or Hereditary or something like that.
Right.
I don't want this to just fall into a bunch of other tropes.
Right, exactly, and I
Right.
think that's definitely something that Ty West was saying in there as well too, and
Yeah,
kind of his
absolutely.
own.
Adding on to that, of course, that plays in with the setting where they
Yes.
go to a cabin in the woods to film this artistic, a cabin in the woods. That's
Yeah.
where it's gonna be. We're gonna film this artistic adult film, and kind of same thing you have with the horror genre as well.
Yeah. It was that's definitely kind of a large theme of the film too. And it's so cool seeing that and just seeing Jenna Ortega in the movie and like her in Scream talking about like, oh, like I like elevated horror and I like Hereditary. And then she goes on to like do a movie like this, which is like basically pushing those boundaries. You know what I mean? So like something like that was like really cool to see come full circle in the theater. Like I was like, okay, I got an idea of where this is going. Yeah, it was cool.
I thought-
mean, how did you did you guys have an idea who was going to be the final girl?
Oh yeah,
I thought it was going to be Jenna Ortega.
She's definitely set up to be,
Yeah.
and I think
I thought it was going to be that just from knowing who she is.
of course,
I was like, she's going to be the final girl. You know what I mean?
yeah, and I
Nah,
think
What
that's
did
part
what
of
did
it
you guys
too.
think?
I figured it was gonna be Mia Goth the whole time. I mean, she's the first one you see on screen. You kind of know that's like your main character, that
Mhm.
kind of thing.
I was having a little trouble kind of deciphering kind of about midway through, and then once Mia grabbed the gun, I was like, okay, I think this is where this is gonna happen, and I think Mia's gonna be the one. Is it to be interpreted that cocaine is the real hero here?
Allegedly, yeah, we could say that.
Possibly. Yeah.
I think
Allegedly.
what it is.
I mean, I don't know. You know,
I'd have to do a rewatch. It might bring
Right,
it to life a
exactly.
little bit more. See exactly where cocaine is used in this film.
I think it might be a little bit more that not having sex doesn't protect you anymore or anything like that, and that everyone's human, and that just because you live this pure life doesn't mean that you're any better or any the death's going to come for you anyways, and it could be horrifying or it could be weird or whatever.
There's a lot left to
'Cause
interpretation.
RJ's the first person to
Absolutely.
die. He doesn't have sex.
Absolutely.
True, yeah, absolutely.
Right.
You
Yep.
see
Exactly.
That like goes completely against the horror thing, and that was one of those like once he was like, you know what, fuck it, I'm leaving. I'm like, this guy's for sure gonna die.
Well,
Like that's when I
I
knew the movie was gonna pick up.
I
'cause
even
think most people did.
didn't even know and when he started doing that, I was like, oh wow, is he gonna be like the one that triggers all of the killing, or is like he's gonna go
that's what I
crazy?
thought.
Yeah,
I thought maybe he was gonna turn off the
yeah,
shower,
there
and then he
was
was gonna like snap a little bit, and
Yeah.
then he was maybe gonna go kill someone.
Yeah, there was a brief thought in me that kicked in as well. Then I'm like, but I don't know. Those old people were just too fucking weird. To me,
Right,
you know what I
right.
mean?
Yeah.
Sure.
I was like, they got to be up to something. But yeah,
that would
they
be a great way.
kind of hint at that.
that'd be a great way to subvert expectations in a film like this.
Well,
Kinda
yeah,
going
for
on.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So it'd be fun to see something like that further down the line. I like when people kind of
Yeah.
flip a cliche storyline like that and subvert, like I said, subvert those expectations.
Yeah. And
Favorite kill? Sorry, you can finish your
Ooh.
thought and then you can go to that.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say even to Nathaniel's point, just on how the film is shot, and I think this film is shot beautifully. I mean, they got like mirror images where like Mia Goth and the grandmother is sitting down. Then there's who is it sitting at the other table? Is it Kid Cudi and Brittany Snow?
yeah, I think so.
they're
Yeah.
like going through like their skit of the porno, which was like hilarious as well to see like, hey, my car broke down. Like that type
Yeah.
of stuff was funny to see like later. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
so yeah, it was all around. But like those shots to go like bounce back and forth to show the parallels on that was like super cool too.
Definitely.
As well as the shots that like when they go out to the lake, when Mia Goth goes out to the lake, that's like such a very 70s horror
Oh,
shot.
yeah,
like, where she's,
100%.
like standing at the dock. There's the water in the background. There's the person standing behind her like 400 yards away.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
very
And then even
Friday.
the
It was-
bird's eye shot of her floating, and then you get
Yeah.
the slow draw of her just kind of paddling in with the gator behind her, and you're just like, that suspense is just like, I know that
Yeah.
gator's swimming faster than her, but she has a pretty good start. I don't know where it's gonna stop,
Mhm.
and then of course she gets up, and then the scene ends. But
Right.
yeah, definitely one of those scenes that's a lot more iconic and just feels really really right.
Yeah. Very Friday the 13th esque.
Yes,
You know what I mean?
that's what I was gonna say. Friday the 13th, Last House on the Left. Some shout outs. There's
Right.
a couple Psycho references in this as well too.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was. Yeah.
Some good use of like
Um,
story devices where they tell you early on, oh, that gun in the glove box not loaded, and I
Love
knew
that.
immediately when he said that
Yep.
that's gonna come back, of course.
Yep.
Oh
And
yeah,
then
for sure. I
Same
knew
same
that.
thing with the gator. Once you know the gators are a threat, someone's dying from the gator. So
For sure. Yeah.
and the same,
I
also
thought it
that
may
shotgun
be,
too, like all those things.
Yeah, I'm sorry to cut you off. Go ahead.
Oh no, you're good. That was the end of my thought. You're good.
Yeah, I
Discord,
was
gotta
gonna
love
say
it.
with the gator thing, I thought it may have been Kid Cudi's character.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
When
When
they
he's
first
going to get
go
the
there,
flashlight.
Yeah, then I'm like, oh, is it gonna be the gator? But then once it was Brittany Snow on the dock with the old lady, I was like, oh, this is way too obvious. It
100%.
was so cool to see though.
Yeah, it was.
Oh yeah.
Well, and I
But yeah,
think.
to Ty's point.
Oh, go ahead,
Sorry,
Blake.
go ahead.
No, go ahead. Finish your thoughts because I've been talking a fuck ton.
Yeah, no, me too, dude. But I feel like I always do with horror movies. But to Ty's point, favorite kill. I don't know. Jenna Ortega running out and just get completely fucking domed was hilarious.
I saw
In my
that coming, and
opinion,
it
but, like,
still was like, oh my god.
Yeah,
I thought it
that
was so that is what I was gonna use as my favorite kill, and I just like when he drags her in and her face is ripped off. I'm like,
yeah,
bro.
that was brutal.
yeah. And then of course that's what gives him the heart attack.
Oh yeah, that's gonna be my favorite kill.
Yeah, I was like, okay, that is grounded. I could completely understand.
Yep.
Being startled at that age, you know what I mean? Yeah, I think that's mine. What are your guys', Nathaniel, Adam?
I think my favorite is the old guy dying from the heart attack after that.
Yeah, that was funny. Yeah,
that's funny.
I liked the pitchfork one. That was pretty good.
Yeah. You can see there's holes higher up too on that.
Mm.
And there's holes lower and holes higher up. So
Uh-huh.
I think either way there's a plan there for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and after
The fucking nail in the foot. Oh my god,
Yeah.
bro.
that killed me. And then right after that, there's this shot where Jenna Ortega is in the house. He's like, hey,
Oh,
can you go in the
the
basement and
hand.
get a light?
Mm-hmm.
And she's walking down the stairs, and I always think of A Fucking Quiet Place anytime anybody walks downstairs now. I'm
Sure.
like, they're gonna step on a nail. You know what I mean?
Sure.
That's just one of those things. Like, oh god, that's got to be terrible to step on a nail like that.
It is.
But yeah, it was good, man. Pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, my kind of final thoughts here before I get too wrapped up. Going back to Adam's point with the gun earlier in the thing, and Martin says, "Oh, I keep the one in my glove box, and it ain't even loaded either." I love that as a writing point of view because even then, even though we know that gun is coming in later, it also kind of backs up the idea that Martin Henderson's character Wayne, for as kind of grimy as he is too, is still the honest one. out of the two
Yeah.
of them. He's the one that's
Yeah.
not trying to trick them or anything like that.
Yeah.
I thought that was really good. And then, you know, you had that great kind of little bit of the racial tension between Kid Cudi's character, who is also a Marine veteran, and we keep calling him Granddad, or the grandfather, who's, you know, a veteran and everything. You have that great moment where they're kind of like, he's like, oh, well, you know, it's for country, right? Like, go out there and you see Kid Cudi's giant dong for a second in the silhouette.
That shot was funny.
Yeah.
There's definitely some comedic undertones in this.
Oh
movie,
yeah,
too.
for sure, and that's definitely where I feel like that's very Ty West and everything. But I just like that; those bits are it's just smart writing, you know, just like tying those moments in to create a bigger, more believable world is just something that doesn't have to be in horror movies, and I'm so appreciative of when it is in that kind of thing. So I thought all of those moments were really, really great and stuff. Brittany Snow, I think we haven't talked about enough. She's really, really great in this as well too. Committed 100% to everything.
Absolutely.
So yeah, exactly. Yeah, it has been a while since we've seen her in some stuff too. So yeah, that was really great as well. But yeah, just a smart, fun flick overall, in my opinion.
I agree 100%.
Also,
Yeah,
the runtime
before
perfect, as I mentioned before. I mean, didn't feel too long at all. Like that's a perfect sweet spot.
No, hour 45 runs by quick.
It was perfect.
45.
Yeah,
I agree.
And it was paced really well.
Agreed.
yeah.
I
It
don't
never
feel
felt like it
it's-
dragged.
No,
Not
I
a
don't feel
single
like it
time.
was too drug out in the beginning or anything like that. And definitely picked up right when it needed to.
Before we get out of here too, Blake, what's the
I couldn't pinpoint it. Go ahead.
No, I was going to ask you, what's the end credit scene after you finish your thought too?
That's what I was gonna say. So that basically the end credit scene is Mia Goth again. Obviously, she plays the grandmother, right? Which I think most people kind of came to terms to realize once you start watching the film a little bit more. Like, oh, I think that's played by the same person. So the post credit scene is, and because this film is in what 1979, I think
This is 79, yeah.
I think it's
What did they say, like 39 or something like that?
some shit like that. 29, 39, 19.
Okay.
I don't know. Nonetheless, but it's Mia Goth, and she's playing Pearl. She's playing the grandmother as
Got it.
age, right? So you probably get to kind of see her backstory and like her sex life and things of that nature, and probably how she became to be a serial killer.
Sure.
So yeah, but you don't really get a ton of info on it. You just kind of see her, and it's like years past. It's Mia Goth. She's talking to somebody, and then she's like running through like a cornfield type thing. So
Gotcha. Well, I know reading on the trivia of this on the IMDb page, yeah, they shot this in New Zealand, and so when they went there, they had to quarantine for 2 weeks, and during that quarantine, Ty West wrote a whole prequel called Pearl that he's now going to film after this one too. So, and I think they're probably going to use that
it's been
together.
filmed.
Yeah.
To my understanding, I think it's been filmed.
Oh, really?
He said it within, I think, like by fall or something like that.
Oh, really?
Wow.
Filmed them back to back. Yeah.
I'm down.
Yeah, I'd definitely watch another one of these.
Yeah, it was cool. Pleasantly surprised. So I just did a quick Google search. I wasn't sure if there was a post-credit scene, but it doesn't hurt. So, yeah. Overall, good movie though, man. Pleasantly surprised.
Definitely go check that out. Well, I guess you're in spoilers right now. You already have. And for those who are not in spoilers, welcome back. As we are done with the main review segment, here we're gonna go ahead and place X up upon the entropy list.
Up upon.
That's where you guys usually go. Hop upon, but I'll take the awkward sounds anyway.
I whispered it. Sorry, it probably wasn't picked up on Discord.
It was not for me. But thank you. I appreciate it. For those of you who do not know, the Entropy list is Back Row Banter's official list of everything we have reviewed, regardless of genre, regardless of anything else, all on one fantastic list. This is essentially how we rate our movies. Rather than do it out of 5 stars, out of 10, whatever it is, we throw up all the movies we review on a list and see how they compare to one another. If you'd like to reference the Entropy list for yourself, you can do so by checking the episode description where it is linked to my Letterboxd.
Man.
Episode 95 and film 94 upon the Entropy list. A lot of horror taking place.
Man. Yeah, this one's going to be tough.
It's gonna be an interesting one.
I think I found it.
Go for it.
Gonna let her rip at 43, below A Quiet Place and above Last Night in Soho.
Good spot, bro. I like it.
And I honestly, I feel like that you could argue maybe a little bit higher, potentially a little bit lower. I think The Strangers might be the better film. Yeah, I see that now that I see The Strangers. I like this a lot more than Last Night in Soho for sure, and even probably Halloween 2018. Strangers maybe should be above those other two. But then I think to A Quiet Place in that theater screening and seeing this in theaters, kind of having a similar experience on both ends of that. A Quiet Place edges that out for me as far as like a new IP, new story, new idea. That theater going experience was incredible for A Quiet Place, so I think I would place it slightly below that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
43.
My kind of immediate thought, especially coming out of this movie, was Malignant, actually, in terms of kind of like overall tone and kind of wackiness, I think, in some ways, too. But also looking at where we have Malignant overall on the list, it's pretty high up there. And,
so it is surprisingly.
Yeah, we have so many we do have a lot of horror movies on here, too. I think I'm going to go 42 above A Quiet Place, below Soul. I like this better than A Quiet Place. I like it about the same as Last Night in Soho. I think I might like it probably about the same as Halloween 2018 as well, too. But I think for what Adam was kind of saying in terms of like new genre and that kind of stuff, or a new kind of experience in terms of A Quiet Place, in comparison, I think for me, this one just harkens back to all of those things, and I like seeing the genre maybe reinvented, or still being able to be reinvented, or still being able to find new twists in slasher films, all these years later. So I think I'm gonna have it just right there, 42, right above A Quiet Place, right below Soul.
Yeah. I'm in the same ballpark, fellas. When I left the screening, the first thing I thought was, how do I feel about this compared to Scream? And how do I feel about this compared to The Strangers?
Okay.
And I like it better than Scream 2022, that is. And then The Strangers, I was like, it's close. It's close. I do think I like this a tad bit more, just for how like off the wall it is, right? Or like how wacky it is.
Sure.
To Nathaniel's point, where it's just like, it's just a goofy movie, man. Good. It's a good, but it's goofy.
We should rate a goofy movie.
Looking at it here.
I'm in.
Looking at it here. It's,
Powerline.
yeah, I think honestly, I think I'm rocking out at 42.
Okay.
So I would put it above Quiet Place and below Soul. It's very close to Malignant for me, but Malignant is awesome. Malignant is like a horror movie's lover movie, if that makes sense.
No, I'm with you.
So, Ty?
I think I'm gonna go 47.
Okay. So you like The Strangers more than this?
I do. I think long term, and for nostalgia purposes, The Strangers is like one of those movies that will just always kind of fucking
sure.
freak you out. And this has a really good shock factor.
Sure.
And
ick.
And it is newer. And a Quiet Place, you guys know how I feel about that, and I think Malignant's a little too high for me, but I also think Strangers is too low. So there's a couple spots in there that I would personally mix up, but I think just kind of have it kind of laid out and everything. I would put this at 47 above Conjuring 2.
Cool.
I'm also trying not to group a lot of our horror stuff together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot, and they're all just kind of like right in there.
Yeah, they all fall from like 40 to like basically 50 something.
Yeah.
That are like mediocre, and then like everything that's like really good obviously is much higher.
But hey, there are 1, 2, 3 horror movies. Four horror movies in the top 10.
Yeah.
Really.
The Shining, Hereditary, Halloween, and Get Out. And
Wow.
You can't really count it a horror, but it is kind of a thriller in that same vein, which is Prisoners. So you could say it makes up half the top 10.
It's true.
Wow.
We've done a lot of horror.
Yeah, I
I
know.
didn't even think of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we always have The Green Room as like a gatekeeping movie.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so, 13. We're like,
Yeah.
if we didn't have like 9 Days Whiplash Your Name, I think that's definitely catapulted into there because we all love that movie. So,
Yeah. All right,
Horror
well,
dominates this list.
we have a 43, two 42s, and a 47, correct?
That is correct.
That totals us out to 43 and a half. So we'll have to tie break with Last Night in Soho. Luckily, I already have that up. X, as we said before, has an IMDb rating of 7.4, and Last Night in Soho coming in at 7.1.
Ooh.
So looks like X is going to edge it out there and take that spot at 43. Putting it, let me get there really quick. It's taking a while because this is annoying. There we are, finally. Putting it below A Quiet Place and above Last Night in Soho.
Yeah.
We do have a very big clump of
And-
horror movies in the middle of this list.
Yeah.
Right
We
there.
need some very like mediocre
Leprechaun.
like action movies that we can like, go there.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Sure,
'Cause horror's
sure.
kind of on its own scale.
Yeah,
Like that's why they just get grouped together.
yeah, true. Well, we are doing an action movie. I don't know if it's mediocre, but we are doing an action movie for next week's review. It's going to be Blackhawk Down, now streaming on HBO Max currently. So if you're interested in that, well, of course, I'm sure you are interested in that. You probably have already seen it, but if you want to rewatch it, you can do so on HBO Max and then join us for our review next week. Nathaniel, do we have a 5-star review to go through?
We certainly do. We have a 5-star review this week. Folks, if you would like to hear your 5-star review read out on the podcast, all you got to do is review us in-app on Apple Podcasts or wherever you do your podcast. We'll find it eventually. But you can say whatever you like. You can be mean. You can be funny. Just don't be evil. And we'll read it out here. It can be anything you want. Just got to be 5 stars. This week, we have a 5-star review from Glubus, who says, some actual genius talk. Thanks, Glubus. 5 stars, obviously. These guys know what they are talking about when it comes to film. Some actual genius talk for some self-proclaimed, quote-unquote, casual film fans. Thanks, man. We appreciate that. But, yeah, that's it, folks. If you want to hear your review read out on the podcast, all you got to do is submit one. Just got to be 5 stars. And Adam?
Yeah, you can also share the podcast, share with a friend, family member.
Email
Maybe
us.
a crew for the adult film you're making,
Yeah, on the
Another
off
market we
chance.
can get into.
And, if you're out there, trying to find a new place to stay or something like that, and you run into some creepy hosts, maybe, just say, hey, I've been listening to this new great podcast, folks. It's called Back Row Banter. Check it out, and maybe they'll be nice to you. Who knows?
Maybe. Huge maybe.
Maybe.
You don't know. Old people are unpredictable. Anyway, you can also follow the show on Twitter at Banter Row, where you can get updates like this week's delay. Of course, we are releasing on Thursday instead of our usual Wednesday mornings. So we did update there on Twitter, and if you want to keep caught up on updates on when the show is releasing in case it's delayed, or if we change a movie midweek, which hasn't happened in a while, but has happened in the past, we're going to send all updates to Twitter, as well as like when new episodes are live. We do that as well there. And then you can follow us on Instagram at Back Row Banter Pod. On YouTube, we're just Back Row Banter. And then our email for any questions, comments, concerns, grievances, or anything else you maybe want read out on the pod. You can send it to us there at backrowbanterpod@gmail.com. BlakeHolder is absent, so I can't go to him this week. Oh, he's coming back. Can you hear me? He's got one earbud
I
in.
heard something like fall down and like
Oh,
kind
okay.
of creeped me out a little bit. So I had to go.
Is it Ronald Reagan or?
Or
No, it
Ronald
was
McDonald.
actually, I bought like these paper blinds because I haven't bought curtains yet, and they're like stuck to the thing.
Yeah.
And they'll fall occasionally, and it
Yep,
fell.
yep,
It was
yep.
Like, I don't know.
For
Just
sure.
talking about horror movies, like you hear something like that and just like kind of creeps you out.
Of course. Yeah.
So,
BlakeHolder, where can the people find you at, my man?
what up? Letterboxd, BlakeHolder. You could find me there. I think I might put some thoughts down on this one. I know I've learned to hold off to do it after we record, because before I did it before we record. Nathaniel read it. He knew how I was going to feel about the movie before we even recorded. So I think I'm going to see if I can put some thoughts down on there tonight, because I thoroughly enjoyed this. So Letterboxd, BlakeHolder. That's it. PSN, which I actually need to get back on. Xbox, Mr. Watercoolers. PSN, Mr. Watercoolers. Instagram, Mr. Watercoolers. Yeah, that's all we got. We'll go to Ty.
Twitch.tv/ultrabajo87. That's where I twitch pretty much most nights of the week. I have my schedule up, so just, tune in. Come have some fun. Trying to make partner. Got to get to 75 viewers average. It's a high number, but I appreciate anything. And Instagram, Twitter, and Letterboxd are all Tyler Vidalis, VIDALES. Nathaniel?
What up, folks? You can find me on Twitter and Letterboxd at Ennis Gingrich. You can follow me on Instagram at NathanielG92. Sandpiper tape's still out there, still cooking. So, yeah. Other than that, Adam, bring us home, homie.
That's been it for episode 95. We're inching ever closer to that 3-digit number of 100, so stay tuned for that. But, yeah, we'll see you next week for Blackhawk Down. Thank you all for listening, especially if you made it this far into the episode. We really appreciate it. We'll BRB.
Be excellent to each other, everyone, and we will BRB.
Thanks for stopping by. Do whatever you can do to help us grow. We appreciate anything you can do and will do for us. But overall, we appreciate you and your beautiful face and ears.
And ears.
And yeah, just be good to one another. Spread joy. And we'll BRB.
Yeah, thanks for listening. As always, we appreciate the love and support. Feel free to share the podcast with anybody you'd like. Outside of that, as I've been saying for this month, it is Women's History Month. Please stream something created by a woman, written by a woman, starring women, anything of that nature. Show support where you can. And as long as you're doing something you love every day and you're living the right way, we'll BRB.
America. Ready for another lesson.
Oh, I gotta turn down the TV too.
Yeah, I've got both basketball games on in the background.
Who's playing right now? I don't even remember.
Zaga, Arkansas. Zaga's down 5, 47-42.
That's got to
and
be
then-
what, Sweet 16?
Yes, Sweet 16. And then Michigan, Villanova is on right now. Villanova leads by 3.
Is Arizona still in it?
Yep, they play later tonight against St. Peter's.
Oh, okay.
No. Who they play?
Doesn't matter.
Houston Cougars.
Get fucked, Houston. Just kidding. I like you, Houston. Tops drop.